What's up, Chuckers? Producer Mike here. This is your Served 5-Setter, your weekly roundup of all things Racket Sports, 5 stories in 10 minutes or less. But before we get into it, please hit subscribe on YouTube. Give us a follow on your favorite podcast platform so you can stay up to date on all things served. We really appreciate the love and support. That said, today is April 10th, 2026, and here's what we've got for you. Youth takes center stage at the BJK Cup, plus a proposed cash-in for college players. Rune's return is set, and a Gael force win blew through the south of France. But first, we are starting with a stat that tells you everything about the state of men's tennis right now. Heading into this week, Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner are dead tied at 66 career weeks at world number 1. That's the 12th all-time. And this weekend in Monte Carlo could decide who gets to 67. Here's why it is so tight. Alcaraz is defending 1,000 points from winning Monte Carlo last year. Sinner, 0 points to defend. He missed the event entirely in 2025 due to suspension. So every round that Sinner wins chips away at the gap, and every round that Alcaraz drops makes it worse. As of taping, both men are through to the quarterfinals. Sinner beat Thomas Mahach 6-1, 6-7, 6-3 on Thursday, ending a ridiculous streak of 37 consecutive sets won at a Masters 1000 event, the longest in the history of the format. The simplest scenario for the Italian to recapture world number 1, win the title, and he is guaranteed to be back on top at world number 1 regardless of what Alcaraz does. If Sinner reaches the final and Alcaraz exits in the quarters, Sinner takes the top spot. Here's what Carlos had to say during an on-court interview regarding the race for world number 1.
Well, to be honest, I'm gonna lose the number 1 of the world. I don't know if it's gonna be in this tournament or in the next one. So I defend a bunch of points that is gonna be really difficult to defend all.
This isn't the last that we'll hear of this storyline. Carlos has 4,300 points to defend across the clay swing. Sinner has 1,950 points on the line after finishing runner-up to Alcaraz at both Roland Garros and Rome last year. Not surprising with these two, it all comes down to this weekend. We will have a full Monte Carlo recap with Andy, JW, and myself on Tuesday's Served episode. Be sure to check it out. Now for set number 2, the 2026 Billie Jean King Cup qualifiers kick off today. 14 nations, 7 ties, 2 days. And the story of this round might be the teenagers stepping onto the stage for the first time. Starting with Team USA heading to Belgium, captained by Lindsay Davenport, the Americans are sending 18-year-old Iva Jovic to make her BJK Cup debut. She reached a career high of world number 16 last month and is currently the youngest player in the WTA top 20. Her first assignment, a team featuring Elise Mertens, the world's top-ranked doubles player with 6 Grand Slam doubles titles. Meanwhile, down in Melbourne, 17-year-old Mika Stojsavljevic makes her debut for Great Britain against Australia. The 2024 US Open Junior Champion was taking her GCSEs last summer. She will open Friday's tie against Australia's Talia Gibson. The Australian roster also features a teenager with 17-year-old Emerson Jones waiting in the wings. In Switzerland, Belinda Bencic, the Tokyo Olympic singles gold medalist, will face a Chechnya team loaded with youth. 20-year-old Sarah Balick, who won her first WTA title earlier this year in Abu Dhabi, headlines a roster where every player outside Maria Buskova is 21 or younger. The BJK Cup continues to grow with a record 148 nations entering the competition this year, and it is clearly growing younger. Check out BillieJeanKingCup.com for the streams. Speaking of college-aged players, set number 3 takes us off tour and into the world of the NCAA. This week, the mysterious Division I cabinet received proposed changes to the pre-enrollment eligibility. If adopted, prospects could sign with agents before enrolling and accepting prize money without losing eligibility. This would be huge for tennis, where the current cap is just $10,000 annually, meaning you enter a tournament, you win a bunch of money, you can only take 10 grand. According to Yahoo Sports, the NCAA is also exploring an age-based eligibility standard, a 5 for 5, which means 5 years from your 19th birthday or high school graduation, whichever comes first. No more red shirts, no more waivers. The cabinet could act as early as mid-April on this. College tennis was a hot topic at the USTA annual meetings a couple weeks ago, where Served was on the ground. Andy sat down with USTA President and Interim CEO Brian Vahaley and incoming USTA CEO Craig Tiley, a former national championship coach at Illinois, and asked them about the state of college tennis. Here's what Mr. Vihely had to say as a former college player and current president of the USTA.
I'm clearly a big believer in college tennis, and I think it's a massive, inspiring journey for our youth. If you think about what gets a lot of kids into tennis, the reason that I got into tennis was the dream of getting a college scholarship. What I will say, certainly over these last few years in an NIL world, is we're seeing more and more coaches having the opportunity to bring in foreign players that are 25, 26, 27 years old who are coming off of the tour with an NIL deal. And that's starting to take away scholarship opportunities for some of our youth.
Ty Lee, who is transitioning from his role as tournament director of the Australian Open, an event which had a staggering 34 current or former college players in the singles draw this year, had this to say.
The challenge is actually that programs have been dropped. So no one's getting the opportunity because the money is going towards NIL. So I actually think it's a bit of a crisis. I think that we've got to lean in big time and find a way to stop those programs from being dropped because those are the opportunities.
Reports show that since 2023, more than a dozen Division I schools have cut men's and/or women's college tennis. An epidemic hopefully slowed or maybe even reversed by access to more prize money for players. We will keep following this one. On to set number 4 and some good news for all of our Danish fans. Holger Rune confirmed on social media Thursday that he is targeting the Hamburg Open in May for his competitive return. The ATP 500 clay court event would mark his first match since October at the Stockholm Open, when an Achilles injury took him out for the rest of the 2025 season and up until this point, the start of the 2026 season. That is roughly 7 months on the sideline for the 22-year-old. Here's a clip from an interview he did with Andy back in January where he shared how his rehab and recovery were going.
I've just really been maximizing every single day, putting all my effort on recovery, on doing the right things. And obviously we have a very, very strict guideline that we follow. It's not just by, I think it's fun to be on a tennis court, I'm going to go on a tennis court. It's because I'm allowed to.
Holger has won 3 of his 5 ATP Tour titles on clay, so Hamburg makes sense as a landing spot. It is a surface he trusts, and he made the quarterfinals there in 2024. Depending on how Hamburg goes, we could see an aggressive return schedule heading into Roland Garros. We are rooting for a successful return to tour for Holger and his team. Now for set number 5, and we started in Monte Carlo, and we will end in Monte Carlo. If you thought Gael Monfils was going to tiptoe into retirement with a polite applause and a quiet wave, you are sorely mistaken, and you clearly have never watched this man play tennis. On Sunday, ranked 203rd in the world and playing with a wild card, the 39-year-old came back from a set down to beat world number 32 Talon Griekspoor. That made him the oldest match winner in Monte Carlo since 1973 and gave him 145 Masters 1000 match wins, the most by any French player in history. On Tuesday, Monfils took on one Alexander Bublik in the second round. Monfils lost 6-4, 6-4, but the scoreline is not the story. It is what happened at the net. Check out Bublik's on-court interview after the match.
How much of an inspiration has Gael been for you in your career?
I guess a big one. As I said to him at the net, this tournament exactly 10 years ago, I was the hitting partner in 2016, and I was the hitting partner to Gael and Grigor. There was 2 guys, Gael and Grigor, that I was hitting partner most of the times, and I guess back then he was one of the few guys who told me I'm going to make it if I work hard, so it's really emotional.
Monfils has said that he will play each match like it is his last. If Monte Carlo is any indication, this farewell tour is going to be fire. And that leads us into our tiebreak trivia regarding the battle for the men's number 1 ranking. Alcaraz and Sinner have held the world number 1 and 2 spots for 48 consecutive weeks. For comparison, Federer and Nadal held onto the top 2 spots for 211 weeks. So the question is, who crashed their party in August 2009? We will have the answer for you in this week's 5-setter newsletter. And while you are there, check out the headlines that didn't make this week's show, including Aryna Sabalenka's big announcement, a new pickleball major, and a bonus clip from this week's Love All episode about how the Fed Cup brought Kim and Justine Henin together. For the full breakdown, head to servepodcast.com or find us on Substack. Remember to hit subscribe on YouTube or follow us on your favorite podcast platform. And as always, I will see you chuckers on Tuesday.